Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I've Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And welcome to another edition of Happy Hour. As always with these segments, whatever you're doing, do so responsibly. Are you sipping on anything, Samantha?
I am not, because a peek behind the curtain, this is round 2 of our recording today, and I just kind of ran up here because I was like, oh yeah, we gotta go, and I forgot all the drinks.
We are in a bit of a scramble because we are going to New York for a work/fun trip, and so that always means working to get ahead, and then the holidays are happening, and so that adds to it. We're doing a lot right now, and this episode will probably be a bit shorter. I'm sipping on some red wine. As I mentioned, it can be really strange because if you're listening to these episodes when they come out, we record in chunks. Mm-hmm. So you probably heard me say I got the vaccine like a week ago. This is actually just yesterday for me. Yeah. But I feel a lot better today, but I was going through it yesterday.
It was a day delay. I feel like the flu shot does that. It's like 12 to 24 hours later that I'm like,
Yeah. It was pretty bad. I was so nauseated, but I feel a lot better now.
Okay, good. That would be so sad. I would hate for you to be nauseous our trip for New York when most of the planning part is just food.
Yeah, and I already struggle with nausea, as you know. But I did plan it. I planned it good. I was like, it usually only takes me 2 days to get over the vaccines.
Yeah.
So I feel much better. This episode, I just wanted to talk about some things that I experienced going home for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Not real. It's all fine. How are your holidays? How was Thanksgiving for you?
You know, people keep asking, and because I'm in like trip planning mode number 2, I've kind of bypassed that, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What? Oh, yeah. It was great. My partner's family gets together at his mother's house in Charleston, and I really like Charleston. I think it's a really cute city, a lot of history. Both good and bad, obviously. But being there with them, they are so wonderful. They do everything they can in their power to make me feel welcome. They always do. Lots of food. And, you know, I'm down with all the foods. And they love my dog, and my dog loves lounging around and trying to get all of the treats from them. So, yeah, it was really nice. Good to see them. It's always nice. God, if my family, my actual family really listens to any of this, I'm in trouble. Like I'm going to be in trouble. But in actuality, like just being with a group of people who are for the most part, like on the same level as I am when it comes to political things and like being stressed out about all the political things and understanding where I'm coming from instead of being in opposition and have like, we still kind of tiptoed around. We talked about it, but at least we could like commiserate and then be like, okay, that's enough because we can't think about this type of moment. Like that's why we stopped talking about it, not because we're about to get into each other's like hate list because we disagree with each other. So that's a nice little break for me. So very lovely, very, very cozy times. Always feel welcome. How about you?
Mm-hmm. It was good. If you listen to this show, you know, and I think we are not alone at all in this, but we were very anxious about going home. I was very anxious about driving. My old car did fine. I made it home. But because of a lot of work things, I came later than I normally would. And I left earlier than I normally would. And there was a couple things. There was some drama. So I feel like I've become the Christmas trope of the city woman who only comes home for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And she's so stressed and she's putting work first and all this. So I got a lot of comments about like, You finally made it out of the city. Which I'm not offended by. It was just comical.
Right.
Because 3 people ended up showing up that I wasn't expecting.
Oh, no.
One is a friend of my mom's, and she's always like, you made it out. You did it. One was a friend of my brother's fiance, whom I've never met. And he was really nice, and we hit it off, which is lucky because that would have been bad.
Yeah.
And then my little brother showed up. And that's kind of a big deal because he and my older brother haven't spoken in about a year, I think.
Wow.
But I didn't know he was coming. So the tension was high. But it all worked out. It was all fine. But I guess one of the things I wanted to talk about with this is I had this moment. I left early, and it kind of caused a little bit of upset in terms of like, is this because of me? Are you leaving early because of me? And it wasn't that. And my family, like any family, we've got a lot of history and drama and arguments and all of this to back up, these feelings in some ways. But I really was just like, I got to go to New York next week and I got to get all this work done. And I just had this moment several times when I was home where I was like, who is this for? Like if and I'm going to sound like such an asshole, but there's just some moments where I was like, you don't have to, I feel like you're making yourself talk to me because you feel guilt or something. Like, you don't have to do this. And that makes me feel bad because maybe they want to fix something that they think is broken or like, because I do that too. And I caught myself thinking about that with my mom because a lot of times I feel a lot of pressure to like make my mom happy and put up the decorations and do all this stuff. And sometimes I'm like, maybe she doesn't even, maybe who is this for? Is this for me or is it for her? And there were just so many moments this weekend where I caught myself thinking that. And then I felt guilty because, the holidays, the message you get is it's all about the togetherness and like
sometimes, or buy things.
Oh yeah, buy things and be together with your family. But I just like, I think I've been torn on this for a minute. And we've been talking about it in a couple of my recent happy hours where I'm trying to find the line between boundaries and me just being shut off because I don't want to deal with something because I'm not great at conflict. I'm not great at like emotional conversations. And where's the line between me being like a selfish, I don't want to deal with you versus a healthy boundary of, I don't want to deal with you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard when it comes to family too, because when it comes to elections and then religion in general and just growing up, it's when you start diverting from their belief system or something that they taught you all your life, and then you start questioning things and the reaction to how you're questioning things, and your own reaction to that reaction. Like all of those things that happen gets really fuzzy. And then also knowing, yes, this is still my family. And not for everyone, because I definitely know that there are families where so toxic and abuse and all that come into play, and that the best choice is to cut them off and be with your chosen family. And that is healthy, and that is exactly what you should do for yourself. But when we're talking about the middle line where when it comes to my health and my issues and if I needed anything, my family is going to be there 120,000%. If I needed to borrow money, they would be calling me, I could call them. And even if they're in a stretch, they're going to try to help me somehow. Like all of those different things. If I were to be homeless, I could live with them. They're not going to kick me out, even if they disagree with everything I did. And I still hold to the fact that even as anti-LGBTQ as they are, if I were to come out at any point, they would still never do to me what some of the families have done. And it's just atrocious, which is, the part where I'm like, you don't do what you're voting for. You don't do what you're, what you say you're voting for. But why would you do this? It's such a weird level of hypocrisy that I don't understand. We've talked about this. But all of that to say is, I could never cut my family off because of that. But trying to maintain what is a healthy boundary versus me just didn't want to deal with you.
Yeah.
Or dealing with this type of drama or dealing with this. Like, I've had my partner come back to me like, you need to talk to them. You need to do these things. Because, like, not because he feels like I'm being mean, but because I think partially I would feel guilty. And that would eat away with me just as much as spending too much time with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, when it comes to family, even with the best intent, like I said, I think, like, all of us, even if you have the same belief system, doesn't mean that you're not going to disagree on something. And it could be as trivial as not liking pumpkin. Like, like you never know. But, like, it's such a hard, like, point to look at and be like, okay, this is the boundary that I'm setting and it's healthy versus, again, man, I just don't want to deal with you. I can't handle you. And I don't know what else to do but to ignore you. But then also partially, like, knowing that I could come to you, like, and you feel guilty in that too. So there's just so many levels to that. It really is. Like, when it comes to family, unless it's that toxic level that we just, I prefaced at the beginning, because not all people are the same. We know this. And them cutting you out because of things, like, there are those. Like, it just, when you're in that middle gray line, it feels uncertain. I don't think anybody can define, even yourself, even people outside of that, even therapists could define those lines for you.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm struggling with, is that like middle of, I suppose I feel really terribly sometimes because I'd also be in trouble if my family listens to this. I feel like I'm not, when I go home, I'm most excited to talk to my mom. And my brothers and I, like, we've had fights. We have had fights. But we've made, like, a lot of strides. I didn't talk to my older brother for years. And now we talk, but it's mostly about, like, shows we've seen on streaming or something, and that's fine with me. But I also don't watch a lot of stuff on streaming. And he is so into politics. And like I said, we are on the same side. And yet, we just fight about it. So it feels like I'm kind of controlling we can't talk about politics. So we're going to talk about this. And I feel kind of strange about that. And then, like, I mean, I think it's fair given what's happened in the past. But so he kind of, like, we were talking about it and he kind of did bring up politics, but nothing. It was more just, this is the world we live in. And then the next day when I was leaving, I think that's why he was like, it was because of me. It wasn't. I literally, like, up to the last minute, I was debating on if I should stay the extra day or not. I don't know. I worry that it's like I'm controlling what you get to talk about and how long we talk and, like, all of these things. I have some friends that I feel like this too. Or I was talking about Star Wars. I'm like, I don't want you at my Star Wars day. Like, there's just certain things where I'm like, I just don't know if I'm being, like, I don't know.
I love it. I don't want you, here on my Star Wars day.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that in itself, like, something that you are doing, if you are creating an event, or you have the right to say who can and can't come. That's not over the limit thing. That's a boundary thing. I think it's healthy. You do you make yourself happy. Although it does feel awkward when you're like either everybody or no one sometimes. And you're like, I can't do this. Because I know you personally, we've had these conversations, like that statement about your brother. Was that like an accusation when he's like, are you leaving because of me? Or was it like, I'm sorry if you're leaving because of me?
It felt kind of like, he was like, I didn't chase you off, did I?
Okay. Well, it sounds like he's thinking. Someone has said something to him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the fiance. I don't know if it's the mother. Like someone, your mother, has been like, hey, because it wasn't just you then. Like they knew very clearly, you're crossing the line. So for that matter, not that I'm telling you to do whatever. I feel like that's just him learning how to respect your boundaries. So that might be a healthier move than you think. Like, I think you could be thinking too much onto your wrongdoing because this is what we do.
Yeah.
But more so on like thinking of it as like he's learning too, which sounds like a good place.
Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah. I've always been like the peacekeeper in the family. Right. I'm always the like apologetic one, and it feels strange to be not in that spot. And so it makes me feel like, oh no, now he feels bad that he can't talk about politics around me and like all, you know what I mean?
No, I definitely, from the way you're sounding, just in my perspective, from the way you're sounding, as like it sounds like he's learning. And that's great. And that his learning is going to he's one of these people too that needs to actually work it out verbally out loud because he may not read the cues really well. So he's like, wait, this is because of me, because I'm sorry, like type of conversation, which is really healthy. So maybe he's learning some healthy communication skills and boundary skills. And it just happens to be you who helps him see those boundaries, which feels kind of shitty at first, because then you're like, oh no, I made a ruckus. But in actuality, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. That's true. I guess the other part of it is I've felt this way a long time. And I think now I look back, it's like in relationships, it's because I was asexual. Sometimes I feel like I control a lot of like the power. And so I feel like he's making a lot of strides to fix things, and I'm kind of like, I'm good.
And that's okay.
That makes me feel bad too. Like, because he is trying. He really is.
Right.
And I think I just haven't let go of so much of this stuff. And that is something I have to work on.
But again, this is one of those conversations that we have with people who want to apologize, but the person you're apologizing to makes the choice. And whatever that choice they make, it's okay. And a part of the apology is accepting it that way, accepting it's not okay, or they still need more time. And that's an important lesson too. Like we keep talking about it. I've seen it like when it comes to racial remarks and such, and on a bigger platform on social media, and we see a white person doing something racist, and then all the white people be like, you're fine, you don't need to apologize, we accept this apology, and everybody's like, who the are we? Unless you are from that targeted group of people, you can't accept this for them. Like it's both of those things, and those people who have been targeted can choose to say, we do not accept this, we don't believe you, like, or you need to work harder, and that should be okay. Like it's just, both of those conversations are such a big part in this whole thing. Like you're coming to make amends, you're coming to realize, oh, I made the wrong choice, or I said the wrong thing. Like coming in the end, like you can't make someone like forgive you, and that's on you. Like that's just, and you're gonna have to accept that.
Yeah,
it doesn't make it easier, but you know.
Yeah, and this is like becoming a much bigger. Because now that I'm thinking about it, there's also like issues of at the moment, he doesn't have a lot of like interaction socially. And so maybe when I come home, it's more important. I'm so sorry if you're listening. This is sounding horrible. Maybe it's just like, to me, I'm tired from the socializing almost.
Right.
But maybe to him, it's different.
Right.
And also, I think everybody in my family, but I feel like he's had a long history of having to fit in when he was struggling with some neurodivergence. And so it's like he feels like he has to act a certain way. And a part of that, I think, has been, and is often, but it has been like sold to us as you got to go socialize. You got to go do it. But there's so many times where, again, I feel like such an asshole, where I was just like, I don't know. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to talk to me. It's okay.
Right.
Who is this for?
Who is this for? When it comes to holidays, holiday gatherings, there's a lot of like unknowns, even with your family, even where it could be the most comfortable. But then you bring in like new people, new partners, new babies, new kids, step babies, and it becomes a little like, oh, we have to restructure. We have to redo this.
Yeah. And I mean, it is true. Like, I'm not saying something nobody knows. And it is awkward, and like the city girl coming back to the town, and everybody's like, ooh. Like, there's just all of these kind of strange, awkward moments when you go home or see people you don't see.
The Hallmark special is that you're going to run into an old classmate. I wasn't saying classmate. I was like seeing the bisexual version here. A classmate that you never knew was out, and then all these things happen, and the drama.
Yeah.
And then you move there and have a cute little shop. Coffee shop.
Christmas tree farm, and
I was going coffee shop. That seems the thing. Like a lot of LGBTQ plus things happen. You get a coffee shop or a bookstore.
That's true. So far, that has not been my Hallmark movie. I've also gotten where like I don't change out of my pajamas when I go home. So if I meet some classmate, they're going to have to be cool with me being in my pajamas.
But it'll be Star Wars themed, and that's how the meet cute happens.
That's how we connect.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Well, let me know, listeners, if you have feelings like this, because I'm still working through them. I've said before, this sounds terrible too, but I used to have what I call the list of neglect. And it was my list of like, you need to check in on this person. Mm-hmm. And I had to ask myself, who is that for? Like, are you doing that because you feel guilty?
Right.
Or are you doing it because you genuinely like want to hang out with them, think they want to hang out with you? The list of neglect was deleted, so doesn't exist.
Man, I think that hurt my feelings to see my
name
on that list.
Well, it was usually like a rotation. You wouldn't have been on it, but you're like, you got your circles of friends. Yeah. It was like the outside periphery where I'd be like,
smart.
Yeah, just so I didn't forget. I was like,
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to do some soul searching about this. But anyway, listeners, if you have any thoughts or suggestions or advice, please let me know. You can email us at StephanieandMomStuff@iHeartMedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at MomStuffPodcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We have a YouTube page, we have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.